everyone to this second Power BI workshop. For those of you who weren't at the first, where were you? For those of you who were, welcome back. So just a nutshell, a bit of housekeeping before we start. We are recording the session for the purposes of putting it up onto our YouTube channel and into various social outlets, so things like Spotify and also LinkedIn. So you will be able to access the video content afterwards as well. So if you do find that you have connectivity issues, or you fall off, or need to go off for another meeting and then come back, then that is available for you as an option. So let me just minimize that. So as I said, thank you for joining and taking the time out of your day for joining the session hosted by iCoTech Services. I'm Matt Richards, and I'm the lead BI consultant here at iCoTech Services. So who are iCoTech? What do we do? So iCoTech Services are we are a service provider, and our aim is to empower leaders to make better decisions utilizing the Microsoft 365 environment. We deliver this by providing the best technology to businesses using the Microsoft ecosystem. So we do this at a great pace. In fact, we actually deliver value at pace. We are a Microsoft implementation partner, and we're a key support partner for information and communication, as you can see, with Microsoft SharePoint, portfolio management with Microsoft Project. We do data visualization, Microsoft Power BI, but then we're also experts in OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, Exchange Online, Dynamics, Power Automate, and Power Apps. And because of this, because of our extensive knowledge, we have been accredited as a Microsoft Gold partner. Now that kind of just goes to further solidify our knowledge and our product offering and our commitment to Microsoft. So what are we going to be covering today in our session? So as I said, for those of you who are new to Power BI or have missed part one, I'll give you an overview of what it is and what Power BI is, and also how you can get access to it. But then I'll also take you through the process of obtaining, installing it onto your machine. But then once we're through that part, we'll get into our main topic of discussions for today. Now, as I said, this is Power BI workshop part 2. Part 1 is available on our YouTube channels. But the kind of key areas that I'm going to cover today are certain things that I get asked about from various customers when we are doing our Power BI deployments as such. So things like removing blanks from your reports, using custom backgrounds, custom themes. If your company have a certain brand style or brand element, how do you incorporate that into your Power BI reports? Tooltips. Now, tooltips in Power BI are two separate things. You can have a tooltip, which is just the hover over notification on a chart or a visual, or you can actually surface separate Power BI pages as individual tooltips on certain bits of information. So I'll take you through how to set that up and how that works. Also, working with buttons. Now, these aren't your Milky Bar buttons or anything like that. These are buttons that actually enable you to control elements within the visual or within your dashboard. I'll show you how to create bookmarks. And to be honest, those two topics, the buttons and the bookmarks, they kind of go hand in hand. Once you've created your buttons and you create a bookmark, you can then leverage your bookmarks with the buttons to give you extra functionality. To turn your reports and dashboards into almost like a fully fledged system, which is it's pretty good. It's when it works well, and it does normally work well. It does give that wow factor. I'll show you how Power BI can integrate into Microsoft Teams. Again, a number of our clients, a number of our customers ask about our Power BI integration, where we leverage the Office 365 environment to actually put Power BI into your Teams channels and into Teams environments as Teams pages. So you don't have to go to a separate service to get your information. When you log in, if you're using 365, you've got Power BI right there within the Microsoft Teams environment. Also, I'll take you through some general Power BI good practices, things that will help you in your day-to-day development of Power BI reports. And then, just at the end, just a little bit on, what iCoTech do with Power BI and how iCoTech can help you and your organizations in deploying, managing, or even just making sure that your Power BI environments are set up in the correct way to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So with that being said, I'll take you into the demo. Now, the best thing we can do with a demo of Power BI is to actually get in and start doing the do. So obviously, for those of you who don't have Power BI, I'll take you through how to get it and what you will need to do in order to get it installed on your machine. So there are a couple of ways that you can go about doing this. So this has brought me back to the base Microsoft page. So you can go to powerbi.com, and I realize now if I put this in, it's going to take me to where I'm already logged in. So if you're not logged in with Power BI, what you will do, and what the page you'll have will be powerbi.com. Now, once you get to here, you will have this wonderful page looking at you. Now, if you already have an account, just like I did when I logged in with my default browser, it will take you straight to the Power BI service. Now, if you don't have the Power BI service already in place, then you will, if you don't have the Power BI service already in place, then that will take you through to a website or a web page that will ask you to sign in with your details, your credentials, and then take all of that. Go. There's no camera. Go. Apologies for that. So that will take you to a website that has the ability for you to put in your email address and actually register yourself as a licensee of Power BI. Now, where I am here, it's asking me to sign in if I already have an account. Now, if I sign in, it won't take me to the download area because I've already got one. So what you would do, you could click on try free, as I have done there. This is where you could put your password in. You hit next, and then what this will do will actually direct you by way of some kind of magic that Microsoft have. It will actually direct you to the Microsoft Store. Now, we're in the Microsoft Store. It'll take you to this very page. If I put in Power BI up here, it'll take you to this page. And this is where you will have the option to get Power BI. Now, on this instance, obviously on my machine, I use Power BI every day. I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to see the get button. But all this will do will say get. And once you click on that, it will install. And once installed, you'll be presented by the Power BI splash screen, and it will take you into your first look and feel of Power BI. Now, when you're in here, you're presented with the welcome screen. This is a brilliant way or a brilliant place to start if you are new to Power BI. This is where you can, access your recent files that you may have been working on. You can look at what's new and what's coming up within the Power BI environment, but also these little bits at the bottom here. Now, these are fantastic videos for you to actually get up to speed with certain elements and the basics of Power BI. So all the training videos are available. And if I click on view all videos, it will actually take you to the Power BI training portal within Microsoft. Now, again, I recommend looking at this, and you can see the different learning paths that are available to you. So consuming data with Power BI, we've got 2 hours there. Create and use analytics and reports with Power BI. I've got 6-hour learning path. Now, it's not 6 hours straight off the bat. If I click on that, you can see it's broken down into separate modules. So here's a 40 minutes here. But again, that's further broken down into the separate elements here. So here's your introduction and the use of Power BI and so forth. So if I go back into the Power BI environment and the welcome screen, the first thing you would want to do with Power BI is get data. once you've got data, then you're in a position then to actually make or create a report. And here's someone's mic. If you can mute yourself, it would be absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. So at the top here, you can see we've got the Get Data button. We've also got it on the Welcome splash screen here. This splash screen, by the way, can be turned off if you don't want to be welcomed by this each time you go into it. This is a little checkbox at the bottom here. So for this instance, I'm going to do it Blue Peter style, because all the getting of data and obtaining data is all in our previous workshop, which you'll be able to find on the YouTube environment. But to kind of bring you up to speed very quickly on this one and show you the key elements to actually get data, it says Get Data button in the top ribbon. And dependent on your data source and dependent on what you want to cover or what you're actually connecting to, you can pick it up from here. Now, these here are your favorites, or not even your favorites. These are the most used data sources for Power BI users. At the bottom, wherever you see a 3 dots icon within the Microsoft environment, that is the More Options button. And there's always more with Microsoft, and they like to tease you and then give you more later on. So what we have here, we have all the different data sources that can be used and connected to with Power BI. Now, I've previously gone on before this and pulled down the Northwind database, the sales database that you might be familiar with, if a number of you are Microsoft, people, in terms of SQL and that area. Northwind kind of ships with that as a standard SQL database for you to integrate. So I'm using that, and I'm using the sales data that they've got. So going back to what we're covering today and the key elements that we want to look at, the first one we're going to look at is actually removing blanks from your reports. Now, you may be wondering, oh, what is a blank? What does it mean? So I'll show you what I mean in terms of that. So what I'll do, first of all, we'll create just a very, very basic report. So I'm going to click on the table here on the right in the visualizations pane, and I'm going to go to our customers, and I'm going to put in the contact name, let's say, and I'm going to go to the orders, and I'm going to put a order date in. And I'm going to put in some details as well. So I'll say which country it's gone to as well. And then I'm going to go to the order details. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put in the total sales amount in here. And what we've got is a very, very basic table. All it's showing us is our contact name, and the date of this order, where it was shipped to, and how much they sold or how much they bought or purchased. Now I can go and have a look at products. So if I can break that down into products. So in the products, I can actually add a product name. If I do that, then what you'll see, it will actually throw the table right out. So you can see all of these now for the same contact, the same order. If I remove the contact, it will actually group it down a little bit better into, right? So here we are, we've got someone spent $174. It is, in this case, it's the American data on some mozzarella. They must really like mozzarella. But as France, what would you expect? So here we go. So what we can do from here now, we can start to add extra bits into this element. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a slicer or a filter. In Power BI, slicers are what you would refer to as filters. If you've seen a Power BI report and you've interacted with one, you would have most probably seen or interacted with a slicer. Now what we have here is a number of products. When I say a number, this is all the different products that are available to be sold within this Northwind sales database. One thing I will do with a slicer is change it to a drop down. That in turn gives you a load of extra information here, or sorry, extra real estate, that you can play with in terms of your reporting canvas. Now this is your reporting canvas, obviously the white page, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to move your slicer up here. And now if I wanted to, I can just select, let's see, all the orders with this product in, and there you go. You have all these different orders that have come through with just this product. And as I, jump through and make different changes or make different selections, you can see that the visual or the table on the left actually responds instantly to my selection here. Now, what we're looking at is how to remove blanks from a table, from a visual. So from here, you cannot see any blanks. Now, what if you had another visual which gave you the total sales for the selected product? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select a card here, and I'm going to put the total sales amount in here. So for all those orders on the left, for everything here, all those products, we know we've got $1.27 million worth or pounds worth of sales that have been made. Now, if I go in again, now I'm going to move back to the left just so we don't cover it, and I again pick a different product, you can see how that then responds as well. So it's worth bearing in mind that every visual you put on a canvas can have an effect on other visuals. I say can because you can actually turn off the interactions between certain visuals. What we will do now is investigate the blanks. So a blank is generated when you have a number or a visual on a report, but then there is no relevant information to attribute any call or any details to that. So what I've done, I've gone to the orders, I've got to total sales, and before the call, before our webinar, I've come into here and I've added an extra product that wouldn't necessarily make sense with all of these. I don't know if you can spot it right in the middle here. I have added a chocolate teapot as a product. Now, if I select that, we know there's going to be no orders. But what happens to our sales? Our total sales has gone to blank. Now, if you're doing finance reporting or sales reporting, you will want to know that it's not a case of there's no sales or no products. You're working right. There's been no revenue sold or no revenue generated on that, so I want to see it as a 0. So that is a very easy thing to do in this instance. What you do in this instance for this data, and I will say as well that this data set is freely available to access, or this example report is really available to access. While you're on the chat, later on what I'll do, I'll put the link to this data set and this Power BI file into the chat window. So as long as you're still there in the chat, you'll be able to grab the link and download the file for yourselves. So back to the value here. So what we want to do, we want to get rid of the blank. So if we were picking a chocolate teapot, we know there's no orders. You can see there's no orders for that. So we haven't had any sales, so it's a 0. So we would prefer it to show 0 in there. So this is total sales. I'll go to this card and just double check. Whenever you select a visual, you'll see little orange ticks on the right-hand side, which will indicate what visual or what data that is looking at. In this instance, we know that this is coming from the order details. So I'm going to go over to here now, and it's using total sales. If I left click on that, you can see that total sales is made up. If you look at the top here, you've got the order details. So it's the unit price times then the order details discount, let's say. So if there is a discount applied, then that will be in there, and it's times then by the quantity. So you've got the unit price, discount, and the quantity. That makes up our sales. Now, we want to make sure that there is always a value in there, regardless of what this does here. So the easiest and by far the most efficient way of dealing with this is to enclose all of this as your calculation in brackets. So I put parentheses, one at the beginning, one at the end. And now at the end, all I'm going to do is put a plus and a 0. Now it's a very simple workaround. If I OK that now, I'll work on it, and it's validated it as a working formula. If there was an issue with this formula, let's just say I didn't put anything at the end, and I tried to OK it, I will get this. So it actually lets you know that, that's not going to work, Matt. You're going to have to put something in place just to rectify this. So I can just go back up to my bar, put that 0 back in, and I'll tick, and everything renders correctly. Now, the proof is in the pudding. So if I go into our product area again, pick a chocolate teapot, this time, he says, with all confidence, he says, as he's just done it, it's still showing a 0. That is because, let's go back to our site here. That is because there's a 0 in, it's not a very good example of the show note now, because there's a 0 in the calculation itself, it's going to return a 0 because it's not a qualified calculation. So what I'm doing, I'm trying to multiply by a null number. So in this instance, I can show you that with a different element. So let's change this to a count. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to our order details here. In fact, to our orders, and I'm going to do a count of our required data, or our shipping cities here. So with this, all I want to do, I want to add a count. Let's do a new measure. Just to explain this one here for you. Count of cities. Let's take that back. Now I'm going to pull in the ship city. Oh, come on. It's not going to be there. Calculation, come on. This is the brilliant bit because it, as I said, it is very simple as long as you do it the correct way. And I've done it the correct way now. It should allow me to do count of cities. So what I've done, I'm adding a new column. So this now will allow me to do ship city. What I had done previously, which is great for a demo, obviously, is was creating a measure instead of a column. Now I want to create a column in this instance, just to show this information. So I can now go to my card, count city. I'm going to bring that in instead. Here we have now a count of the cities. So from this instance now, if I select our chocolate teapot, again, it should go to blank. But if I go to the formula by clicking on the right-hand side, and then I hit plus and 0, we should get the elements in here. So let's summarize and see what we got. It's not actually working, which is fantastic. Right, so this is the 830. And that one's not coming up because there's no relevant. Right, so again, this is working with an example database. So the data in this card in this instance is linked to the orders, and as there are no orders, it's not going to return anything to calculate in the first instance, which is that's my bad for missing that. So behind all of this, obviously, all the data sets are connected. There is a data model that sits there. So because the explanation for this, because the orders, there are no orders there. There is no calculation to begin with. So there's no calculation to actually add that 0 to. So in the financial or transactional database where you have transactional orders, then you will be able to add a 0 to a finance figure and it would show a 0 there. But hopefully later on, I'll be able to really establish that in later examples, especially with the bookmarks as well. So what I'll do with this now, I will go on to using custom backgrounds and things like that. So depending on the branding of your office or your environment or your workplace, you may need to make sure that your reports are standardized and they're showing a set way of working or a set look and feel. Now, there are certain elements or certain ways you can do this. you can click on your canvas. So the canvas is the empty space. So this all border here, this is your canvas, and then you obviously have your visuals highlighted in separate areas here. You can click on these elements, and when you go over here to the paint roller, on the right here, you can change your page background as such. Now I have some images that I can use for different different kind of types of reports. So even if I wanted to, if I go to our webinar data here, and I should have a webinar background PNG file, what that's done is put my background as a iCoTech Microsoft Gold Partner webinar background. What you can use whatever image you like to do this. Now, to take this to the next level in terms of Power BI and what you would want to use and how you want to use that, you can see here now that because I'm using a dark background, you start to lose or start to actually get control over the elements that you have within your visuals. So things like headings and things like the control elements you can't see. If I open this out, you'll be able to see it. It's all in white, but then just not as clear. So this is where a theme will come in handy. So for instance, if I'm using the iCoTech background, I would really want maybe a lighter colored theme to enable these visuals to really stand out and for them to actually take like a forefront or a focus for your report. So if I go up to our view element here, the view in the top of the page, I can actually change those themes. Now, if you can't find the theme that you want to use, so for instance, I'm going to go with something like this. For instance, now you can see what that's done. You can see it's actually added elements behind here as well. So this, what you're looking at, the canvas, this is actually your background, whereas this at the side is your wallpaper. Now, two different elements. If I click on the paint roller again, we have a wallpaper here, and obviously we have the background. The background is what I've just added, which is, excuse me, the webinar background. And then down below, then we have the wallpaper option. So if I want, I can make the wallpaper a little bit less focused, or I can just get rid of it altogether with the X. Now, what we still don't have here, and if you look at this I suppose theme as such, if I look at this background, this looks a little overkill for a filter or for a drop down. So I can, if I want, I can go in, I can go to the rolling pin and individually change the background. So I can remove the background there. I can actually make sure that my controls and my items are actually showing in a decent font, so I can actually see what I'm selecting and what I'm doing from there. Also as well, with this, once you get your theme into a necessary format and the way that you want to work with it, you can then save this theme. So I could save my current theme as the theme for our webinars and save that. And then that theme can actually then be saved if you're using an organization. It can be saved online, or you can be sent out to your analyst or your department. Generally, themes like this for large organizations would most probably be worked on in conjunction with your marketing department or your branding department to make sure that you are keeping the right amount of space around logos, or you are using the correct color palette and things like that. So they are actually able to create these themes themselves as well, but they would have to use there's a tool online which is the Power BI theme generator, where they can go in and you can actually create a JSON theme, and that's the file type that it uses for themes. That's your JSON file. So if I wanted, if I went to this theme, or I went to a separate another different theme, I could go in and, like I say, I actually don't want that. I want to open up my theme. This is my webinar theme, and use that one instead, and it will apply those changes, tell you what's been imported, to your report. So one of the other things that we're going to cover today is tooltips. Now, I mentioned before there are two types of tooltips within Power BI. So if I open up this element here of our orders and our order details, if I go here, let's see if we can put in, don't have an order number in the test data, which is great. So what I will do, I will put in a product ID as well, just at the bottom, not at the end. All has a product ID, nicely done. Now, a tooltip in very short, I suppose in a very clean example, what you can see here, if I hover over Switzerland, I was going to try and pronounce this product, but I thought better of it. If I go over Switzerland, what you see here is a pop-up as well. Your standard kind of almost like HTML tooltip, which just says Switzerland. Now, if I was in a chart, let's say if I copy and paste this table and I change it to a chart as such, let's go to my visuals and make it a little more simple as such. So let's change our legend. We're going to breaking it down by users, so we don't need all those. So let's do this one instead. Values. Right. So what we have here now, our total sales by product ID. If I hover over here, again, you get a tooltip. Now this tooltip is telling you that there are 38. This is product 38. We don't know what it is, and a total sales of 141,000 here. So now, if I wanted to, I could add the product name into this tooltip. As you can see, we've got tooltips here. If I move across now and hover over it, we've now got, you can see it's Côte de Blé. Sounds like a wine to me. And $141,000 or pounds worth of sales has been actually attributed to that. Now, the second way of doing a tooltip, now this is to give you a bit of extra information with regards to this, is by creating another page or another report page and making that the key target for your tooltip. So if I hit the plus here, you can see our wallpaper has been dragged through from the current theme. Now, what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to pull in some product information. So I'm going to put in product name. Let's see if it's discontinued or active or not. And the unit price. And let's see if you can get the supplier ID. Do I have supplier as a product, as a table? No, supplier hasn't been come through. So I can add in, I'll add in the supplier ID here. Just to give a bit of information. Now, what I can do with this on this instance, if I click on, what I've done, I've clicked on the canvas with my left mouse button. Let's remove that in a minute. I've now hit the roller, the paint roller, and I'm going down to page size. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make this a tooltip. Now you can see it condenses this information into this smaller area. Now looking at what we've got here, discontinued isn't really going to give me much information. But from here, I can see the product, the unit price, and the supplier ID. Now I'm going to give this a name, product detail. I can spell detail, that is. Detail. Right, so what we can do now on this instance, if I go back to our first page, I can then go into my product here, into this visual here, and I can go to my rolling pin, and I can go down to the tooltip option. And you can see this rolling pin is the format job, so you can change all kinds of formatting instances with this, right from the size and the position of it. If you're trying to line up visuals to make sure they're in the right position, you can use these to do it to the pixel. The style, it's a default style at the moment, but I can change it to something, whatever I kind of want to do in here, or you can change it to something that is more in keeping with the theme. But then Going right down to the bottom, you have your values, your totals, field formatting. So you can format individual fields in here, just so, for instance, if a sale is over a certain amount, so you can highlight it in a certain color and so forth. What we're going to look at is the tooltip. So first of all, I'll turn it on, and now when I do the drop down, it's saying that it's going to look at a report page. So if I drop it down here, sorry, if I drop this down, you can see that we have the default. Default tooltip is the one we would have seen here. So hovering over, that's our default tooltip. Now, if I select report page and then pick the actual page, looks like it already knows which one it's going to use, because there is only one tooltip. So it's gone with auto. If I had created another one, so if I do that, and now I go back to our element, go to the formatting options, go down, it's still picking that, because that is still a tooltip. But if I click here now, come off of this, and then go over to our visual, what you will see is the elements or the information that's being brought through from the tooltip. If I have it selected, come on, tooltip here, report page, default, come on, and to pick that element there, transparency, there we go. So now what we should get with this, we should have elements that are coming across. So our product ID, we know that's a product ID, which is being used in our other elements here. So in this one, and we should be able to bring through this element. So I need to make sure that this is a tooltip. It's already set as a tooltip. And now I come back across here and to this element here, and then we should be able to show this coming through. So if I go back now and tell it to use the tooltip in the visual, which would actually make more sense. The report page default, so it's not bringing through that as a tooltip. So let's have a look here. It's still not, which is fantastic. So working with separate data. Come on. Coming through. Let's make sure that's coming through. It's just saying report page, which is the wrong one. So it's not picking it up. There, tooltip. Yeah, I knew I missed the flag somewhere. So hopefully now I go back to the field now, and we should have product detail as a tooltip. There we go. So there are two places which I should have remembered. One, on the top side, the page information, you tell it it's a tooltip. And then when you go into the page size, you tell it it's a tooltip. Otherwise, your initial page will not know it's a tooltip. So now when I hover over the elements, it will bring through that report as an extra tooltip or an extra bit of information to go. And as you can see, it's filtering based on the information it knows about. So I've put in the product name, I put in the supplier ID, but it's all linked obviously as well. So it doesn't matter which element I look at, this row itself acts as the filter for your tooltip. Now, one of, I suppose, a key element or another element that we can discuss in this is adding buttons and the like to your reports. Now, buttons add that extra bit of functionality. So for instance, I will duplicate this page, and I'm going to give this a different look and feel, just so we know we're on a different page. Now, all I've done there, I've just clicked on the visual, and I've gone across to our visualizations on the right, and I've picked a different visual to work with. This will allow you to have, that kind of movement between different visuals and be able to select what you want. And this is very busy, as you can see. But if I select certain elements, you can see how it starts to break down in terms of order dates. So what we have here on the left, on the right, sorry, this is our total sales by the product name. And now you can see that it's filtering this donut with those elements, so you can see when those were sold based on this job. So it's not an excellent visual, but for instance, for showing you how the pages or buttons work, then it's exactly what we need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to our first page, and I'm going to go right up here to the insert ribbon or insert option at the top, and I'm going to select buttons. And here we have some kind of like basic information here, or basic tool sets that we can use for buttons. At the very top here, we've got our left arrow and right arrow. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add a right arrow button in. You can, just like any other element or any other visual, you can change the way it looks. You can add text to the button if you want. You can turn off and on the icon. But what we are really concerned with in this instance is the action. So our action in this instance is to move to our separate page or our next report. So we can drill through, or page navigation. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to do page navigation with this one. You press the page navigation, and we're going to give it a destination. The destination, we're going to go to duplicate of page 1, which is where we just were. And we can add a tooltip. Now this is the tooltip in the normal sense. So go to duplicate. All of this, as I said, is very on the fly and creating things as we go along. But now as I hover over that, you can see that another call out comes from it, and it says go to duplicate. If I left click that, what happens is it takes us to our duplicate page. Now again, if we wanted, we could put another element on here that would allow us to go back to that first page. But this, I think, is a prime example of where we can, if you don't want to be moving from report page to report page, where you can have all of this information held on one page, if you were, regardless of the amount of real estate you have. And this is where bookmarks come in. Now, bookmarks are just, a bookmark in real life, you'll slot it into pages of a book, if you're still using actual paperback books. And it will keep that position for you. That's exactly what they do within Power BI. Now, within Power BI, you set your view. So your last view, you can set that as a bookmark, and you can attribute that to a bookmark. So then whenever you call that bookmark, it will take you back to that view. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this visual. I'm also going to select, actually, I'm going to change this visual first, so we've got something different to look at. Let's make it a waterfall. Now I'm going to select that one and that one. I'm going to copy them both, and I'm going to take them back to our first page. Now in here, I'm just going to paste them over the top. Now that, doesn't make much sense at all to anyone who wants to access the visuals behind. There's no way for them to do it. But if we add a bookmark, if we do that, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the top, I'm going to hit view, and I'm going to go view bookmarks to call out this little tab here. For the time being, I'm just going to minimize these two on the right, just so we don't lose the focus. And I'm also going to open up the selection. Now this selection area allows you to select different elements of your Power BI report based on this name. Now the order of this, or the order of this, is actually your layer order. So let's just say these two are the last two elements I added. If I wanted to put them to the bottom of the order, I literally drag them to the bottom and they go to the bottom. But again, you can't see them. That's not what we want from this. I am going to create a bookmark that will allow us to generate this, or give us a proper view. So in this instance, I'm going to use these hide visual buttons here. So for the bottom two that we've just created, I'm going to hide them. So now you can see they're not there. Nothing's there. There's nothing behind it. We'll pull out our filter. We can pull out our card as well, and this will bring me on to like the best practices as well and things to use. You can see on the right that whenever I select on a visual, you get the bar that tells you what I've selected on. Now, from this, it's very simple to see, what these relate to, because there's only a few visuals within the product, within this Power BI report. But when you start to get visuals, list of elements that comes all the way down here, and you've got to start scrolling, it's very hard to understand or work out what needs to be where in this order. So giving it a proper name to actually be referred to is always a top tip, or will always be a top tip for me. So in this instance here, I could say that this is the products table, and so forth. So now, in all of the other visuals and in all the formulas you may use or anything you use, this will always be referred to as the products table. So bookmarks. So what we have here as our first view. The view itself is of the total sales by order. The product here, total sales by order, which is up here. The total sales and first product name, which is here. There you are. So I put it in the wrong order. There you go. So this is our view, and then we've got our card and our filters. All of this can be, controlled via a bookmark. At the moment, we cannot see these two visuals. These are hidden at the back. If I open them up, there you can see them. What I'm going to do at this first instance, I'm going to click Add Bookmark. This will be a bookmark. If I double click, left click, I can change the name of this. So I'm going to say this is Product Details. Again, there we go. Enter that. Now, if I hit the more options, this is the three dots, if you remember. All I want this bookmark to remember is the display and which page it's on. And I want it to work with all the visuals. Now, you can do it with selected visuals if you only wanted to work on a subsection of a report. But at this stage, we're just going to do it with the top level visuals. What I will do, I will update this now. And now I will change the view. So I want to hide this element, hide this one, and I'm going to show these two. And now I'm going to add another bookmark. Now, this is our second bookmark. I'm going to call this one, or make sure it's only looking at the display, the current page, and the visuals. I'm going to update that. I will call this donut, because there's the donut is being displayed here. Now, these two bookmarks, in themselves, they work well. If I click on product details, it takes you to product details. If I click on the donut, it takes you to donut. That works well on its own. Now, at the start of the call, I mentioned that bookmarks and buttons can work hand in hand. Now, I'm going to change this button. So I'm going to have to show my format button area here. I'm going to hide the icon, and I'm going to give some button text on here. So I'm going to call this products. Fat fingers today. Products. There, and if I just drag it out, you can see that's products. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy and paste that and create another one here. This one, I'm going to change the button text to donuts. Notice the spelling of donuts. I know that's not the British way, but in terms of donuts for a display, that's how it's displayed. So now what we can do, we can attribute the action to point to a bookmark. So if I go down to here, I can take it off page navigation. I can select bookmark. And now what it will do, it will ask me which bookmark. So I left click. This products one, I wanted to show the products detail. And for the donuts one, again, click a bookmark. I wanted to do donuts. Now, if I just close them down, minimize that, what we have now, we have controls that will take us back and forth. So if I press that, we go to our products. I press this, we go to our donuts. Now, that's a very basic way of showing you how Bookmarks works, and how the elements all kind of fit together. It's a very it's very useful when you've got lots and lots of visuals and lots of charts that are taking up information. So it doesn't have to just work on visuals. You can use it to display filters. So let's just say you have a number of filters that you have on your page. You can have a button here that is show filters. You click it, you show the filters, you do all your filtering, you have another button, or you click off it and it hides all the filters. It's, the possibilities with this are quite unique, quite, endless in terms of what you can and can't do. And as I said, you can isolate it to specific visuals as well. So it will you can actually use it to filter visuals, hence the data option. So if you want it to select or remember the data selections, you make sure that data element is selected, and then you can show those elements. So all of this kind of that we're going through is just kind of like a really kind of a skirting over the top of what you can do with Power BI and how it can fit into your current reporting environments and things that you're currently doing within your different organizations. What we do at iCoTech from a business point of view, we do what we call almost like our Power BI 5 days to wow kind of scheme, where what we are introducing is like a day's like kind of discovery, where we have development teams and our analysts will actually look at the pain points that you have and the different areas that may be causing you frustration with your Power BI implementation, your Power BI install. And we look at how we can leverage your data and generate insights to help you kind of make better business decisions based on the information that's coming out of Power BI. But then we also help you integrate that with certain elements. So for instance, as I said at the start, integrating Power BI with Microsoft Teams. So if I go into my Teams environment, and if I go here, if we look on the left here, if I go into our calendar, click on that one. Let's just open this one up. So here we go. Here is the invite for today's meeting. Now, across the top here, we have tabs. So in every channel within Teams, we have these tabs available to us. Now, if I wanted to, I could add a tab in here. There's a number of things that I can add in here, but a key one that you can see is Power BI. Well, I can add this in, and I can select reports, I can select whole workspaces to actually appear within this information here. So if I wanted to add a specific workspace or a specific app, you can add that in there. And also, when you are talking with your colleagues about Power BI reports and the like within the Power BI service, the element there is an element available to you that allows you to share particular reports. If I go into my workspace within here, there are certain elements in here and certain reports and things I might want to talk with colleagues about. Now I can share these in certain areas. I can share these in Teams. If I share it in Teams, what will happen? It will actually generate a link, but also place a pointer back to this Power BI file link, so you can access it from within Teams itself. So I'm not going to put that in place now, because if I do that, then people around the organization will start wondering why I'm pointing them to my personal workspace. But in terms of Power BI and how we deliver this from a Microsoft Gold partner perspective, we come in, as I said, we either come in or we do, as most clients are doing at the moment, is we'll work remotely with you to investigate your data sources, understand maybe the pain points we're actually connecting to that data, There are a number, as I said, within Power BI, a number of different connectors that work to actually enable you to get to your data and get to the information that you want. But at the very bottom here, we also have the ability to leverage a blank query. Now, for those of you who are very data centric, using Oracle, SQL, even some Hadoop and some of the larger big data franchises, then you'll be familiar with this and being able to actually go in and access the data at source, or even leverage APIs and pull data in. And that's where our expertise comes in hand to actually get the data from source into Power BI ready for generating insights, insightful information for you. We would have a look at that information, have a look at your pinch points, take it away for some investigation on ourselves, and then play back the art of the possible to you, to give you that kind of proof of concept as to, like, we've had a day, we've had 2 days to look at this information that you provide to us. In those 2 days, we've generated this for you, and this will be of great benefit. Is this what you want? And then after that, we can take you through an iteration of waves and developments of certain elements and certain Power BI suites. We also offer Power BI training as well, to enable organizations to be more data centric and more Power BI ready. And all of this kind of fits together with the ethos that we have here at iCoTech, and that is providing the solutions via our consulting, and then making sure that the service we provide and the products that we provide are perfect and perfectly aligned to your business. So thanks again for joining our webinar today. Now, I've taken you up to the hour. Apologies for the teething problems at the beginning. That will most probably be in Power BI Workshop 3, where we will delve deeper into working with the data model and understanding what the relationships between the tables actually do, and how they will affect the visuals in the top side. So has anyone got any, for people who are still remaining in the chat, has anyone got any questions or anything they would want asked or want me to cover as a result, or something I may not have covered today? Hopefully I haven't bored you too much with all the talking. Just check I've got any things coming through. Brilliant. Yeah, so thank you, Lisa. No, so Richard, the output from this will actually be available on the iCoTech Teams channel, not Teams channel, sorry, iCoTech YouTube channel. When it goes live, we do update in LinkedIn. You can now, if you search for iCoTech within YouTube, you can actually see the Power BI Workshop 1 element, which is there, which takes you through the basics of getting into Power BI, what it is, how it all fits together, and how you create your first report. So what I've taken you through today is, once you're in a report and you're actually making changes and need to, add stuff in, how do you do that? As I said, I maybe should have gone with the data model part as well, but I thank you all for joining. Is there anything else? I'm just looking at the chat window now. Thank you very much, guys, for your appreciation. Yep, thank you, TD. Yeah, so as I said, this will be up on the YouTube channel shortly. I think the turnaround time is about 3 to 4 days, and don't quote me on that. But as soon as it's up there, we will post on LinkedIn. And to keep involved with our future workshops and our future webinars, it's not just Power BI that we deal with, it's the full Office 365 environment. Then please do keep up to date and subscribe for updates. But as I can see, as many people starting to leave, so I will leave it there. And again, thank you very much. Thank you.